Okay, Film Festival International London Hammersmith, welcome. We've got the director, producer, actor, writer team for Prayer for the Damned. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Welcome. How do you like
nice
London?
To be here. Love it.
Yeah?
It. Yes.
Yeah. So we've got Joe Cornett and Kurt Lambert.
Yes.
Yeah. You have one of the few westerns that we've actually had in the festival. And it's very interesting to me from a producer's mind to look at how something's planned from that type of genre. What was it that made you choose a western over and above a war movie, over and above a period drama, over and above an action movie? I mean, is it something that's instilled in you? Is it a passion, or did you just look at the market and go, "There's something here, let's explore it"?
I like westerns. I've always loved westerns, and I go back to my childhood watching westerns, and the specific westerns have influenced me greatly. My artistic outlook, how I see things philosophically. I love them. And this story actually came out of a short that I did some years ago, and I thought it'd be interesting to expand it out. And I wasn't really looking for a specific niche or a marketplace. I just thought it would be great to do a western, and in a traditional narrative, timeless themes, and something that everybody could relate to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Your input in terms of the western genre.
Well, I grew up a fan of westerns as well, but I'm also very into like film noir and thrillers.
Okay.
But Joe and I kind of teamed up, became fast friends about 4 or 5 years ago, and he came to me one night over a cocktail and said, "How would you feel about making a western?" And I went, "Love it, love it." So we did a couple of western shorts, filmed out at the Paramount Ranch that burned down recently in the LA fires, and then we decided to kind of up the ante. Joe came up with this great script, and we jumped in. So it's been a lot of fun.
Okay.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Had to get back up on a horse, which I hadn't been in for quite a while.
I was going to say, obviously one of the challenges of a western is horse riding, the other one's using a gun properly, and the other one's obviously handling terrain when you least expect it, and all elements of the season, because very little of it actually takes place.
Or on a horse in terrain that the horse is skittish about. So yeah.
But except for the saloon and the jail,
yes,
everything else is outside, right?
It is. It is.
So you had to toughen up for the role?
Well, we faced all kinds of weather when we were filming this, from extreme winds, because much of this picture was made out in the high desert near Yucca Valley, California. Mm-hmm. So it's subject to very high winds. Mm-hmm. It's also subject to extreme heat. We filmed during 1 or 2 months that really we shouldn't have been out there, but we were out there because we wanted to get this thing wrapped. And I remember one day, it was probably 109, or that was going to be the high. It was probably a balmy 103 at that point. He was losing his voice, and I said, "Cut, let's break for a little bit, My actor can't talk."
It was a heat stroke thing. It wasn't.
But it actually played very well, because it gave him a weary kind of effect. But yeah, there's all kinds of elements that people don't think about when you're doing one of these things. And we did film it literally in the middle of the desert, and this location we have is also a western town in the middle of the desert.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. So everything was as authentic as it could be.
I think so.
It was. It's the White Horse Ranch, and they have, it's a very authentic set-dressed interior and exterior decorated town, where some of the western towns, you have to set-dress the whole inside. It's just, 4 walls of a building, and then inside it's just a blank open floor or whatever. And this one, you come in and everything is there, and it's period correct, and it's
fabulous.
It's a wonderful, wonderful place.
White Horse Ranch. We discovered it by accident. We were all prepared to make this thing at that time at the famous Paramount Ranch in Agoura, California. And I was filling out the paperwork, and of course you got to go through the Parks Department and everything, and it takes weeks to get approval, and I was going through everything. And I just happened to do a Google search for a specific interior location I wanted, and by God, this western town, the White Horse Ranch, comes up. So I contacted the owners.
Yeah.
We went out there, we scouted the location, we said this is for us, and you know, we've made 2 westerns out there now.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah.
So you're following your heart, following the genre that you know works for you, and you know that you can turn around. So is this your niche in the market that you're exploring? Is this something you're going to keep going?
I would like to think so. I did not set out specifically to make only westerns. I have other things I would like to make, and other things I have made. But I just thought, with the advantages that we have, with the wardrobe, the period correct weapons, the wranglers with the horses, the locations, I thought, well, why not? I still have more to say in this genre, and why not try to make it happen?
Well, you know, many of the moguls have tried and failed, and many of them have succeeded with westerns, you know, and they continue to churn them out in a very strong commercial model. So it's clearly something that works, because it's been around since the beginning of film.
It's kind of almost bounced back a little bit the last couple of years, so you're seeing a few more of them now.
I think people want simpler stories. They want a villain that they can recognize that's got a humanist side, but also, you know, a deep, dark nature.
Did I have a deep, dark nature?
Yeah.
I was
He
the
fits
villain.
the bill on
I
that.
was the villain in this, in A Prayer for the Damned. But yeah, they do. I think there's Joe really touches on the kind of the human condition of, you know, real basic morality tale.
I think sometimes it's nice to get away from the mask, or get away from the Darth Vader type expose of a mean, you know, sort of evil character, and just think, and just be able to, from an audience perspective, see the darker side of a real person, or what they relate to as a real person, which is where the villains come into their own in westerns, because, you know, they're living on the same they're on the same method, in the same timeline, in the same atmosphere, but they seem to survive over and above someone else. Why is that? It's because they're cold, because they're dark, they're ruthless. You know, they're survivors, but they take no prisoners. There's no rules.
Right.
So you step in my path, I'm going to shoot you.
The preacher has no rules, that's for sure.
Well, we definitely have some interesting aspects of evil in this film, and I always wanted to write something that had an evil preacher character in it.
Yeah.
Not because I think preachers are evil, it's just that I remember years ago watching some films, Western films, and there was this crazy, ranting, evil preacher guy, and I thought, I want one of those.
Sure.
And so we have that. But we have all sorts of other characterizations in this, not just evil, but it's all these disparate people that somehow their lives become intertwined in this very strange little New Mexico territory town because of the one thing that they are searching for. So it's like a Holy Grail story, but you know, not as pure as the Arthurian version.
Yeah.
But I love that story, and I love mythology, and I love the Iliad, and I love the Odyssey. And so I try to make, you know, my stories, not that they're
as a quest model,
as a
basically.
quest,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay. Yeah, it's good. That's a nice approach to storytelling, actually, where you give your audience something of value at the end of it, whether it's you know, elation or life affirming expectation in some way, shape or form of, you know, if you push the boundaries you will win, and not every good guy wins, but, you know, the bad guys don't get what they want either. That's just life's balance.
And we have that.
All those things.
We have in this film that twist where it appears the good guys are going to win, and then it appears the bad guys are going to win, and then things get turned upside down a little bit more. So,
Right.
Joe's got a good script here.
Well,
a bit of chess going on in there.
Yeah.
And there's some sketchy areas. You're questioning the motives of these people. And,
Even the hero, you're questioning his motives a little
but
bit.
but at the end, everything sort of gets purified.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. I mean, one of the most memorable villains that I've seen in the last sort of 20, 25 years is and reluctantly, obviously, he's everybody's anti-hero is Gene Hackman as Little Bill.
Right.
And he's absolutely
Great
ruthless.
character.
He's cold as
Great
ice.
character.
You know, he's like straight from hell, and you'd never see him coming. So it just goes to show you don't have to be all cut up or built like Brutus or whatever to be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be behind the eyes, it can be within the soul, it can be within the attention, but also the total lack of expectation of what's coming next. If you can portray that in a character and have that less is more silent presence, I find that absolutely terrifying. That's got more of a punch to me than knowing that someone's coming at me with an axe or a hammer or a chainsaw or anything else. That's what is that guy or girl going to do next? And if you've got those frequencies and those elements in the storyline, and certainly in your strategy for writing stories, then I think you probably found the right niche for you guys, because it's all about recognizing the business model in this business.
Yes.
So if you put something together like this well, you put a lot of planning into the method behind it, and you take the care and attention to create these individual characters that people can recognize and see themselves in, but also love or hate.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the magic trick of the industry. So I definitely think you found a niche that's worth revisiting. Whether it turns out to be a business model for you, obviously only time will tell.
Right.
But the next step really is to see how you fare, obviously, in the festival circuit itself. I mean, how many of these festivals have you done so far?
This is our
Third. Second.
Okay.
Third.
second, because
Competitive festival.
we launched this last summer in a festival in Utah, but it was not a competitive festival. It was a Western festival with Western events and rodeos and cowboys and things like that. And they had screenings set up, and we actually showed the picture up there, and we were the first filmmakers that were invited to show a new film at this thing ever.
Sure.
They usually there's models to show the legendary Western films, and they honor old-time legendary Western stars every year.
Okay.
And then, so we were the first new film that they've ever invited to screen. So
Excellent. Excellent.
And
It's just been well received so far.
right, and
So-
we were in the Studio City in California, in the LA area, Studio City Film Festival, and we were lucky enough to win the Best Acting Ensemble for a Cast in a feature award there. Because this film, Joe's got so many great characters that he's written, and they're really acting showcases for some really fine actors
Okay.
in it. So
Okay. I think that's half the battle. Create something that the actor can get their teeth into.
Well, I really wanted to create a showcase for each actor, even in some of the smaller roles. I wanted to cast it, as everybody was a lead.
Sure.
And
Sure. Excellent. Excellent.
So yeah, and we've just completed the second Western that Joe's editing right now, and then we have plans to start a third one probably in April.
Okay. Are they interconnected? Is it a follow-on character that we're on the shoulders of? Or
they
totally
are
different?
not. They are all three are very different.
Okay.
This A Prayer for the Damned is very philosophical. I'd like to think it is. It deals with very timeless themes. It's a classicist sort of Western. It really is very mythological,
Sure.
Zen-like.
Sure.
The one we just wrapped is more of an action picture. I wanted to make something like the War Wagon meets the Wild Bunch.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I did put a little heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
And there's an actress in this one that is in our next one who is sort of the centerpiece, the heart and soul, while these two guys are shooting up everything all around them.
Sure.
And,
We're a couple of likable rogues,
Likable
just on
rogues,
the
yeah.
outside of the law, but kind of,
Okay. Yeah.
but not bad guys.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
we're not
balance
so
works.
terrible that you can't like us.
That balance works then.
Yeah, and it's,
you see.
in some ways, it's a buddy,
the Butch and
buddy
Sundance
picture.
kind of model.
And then the third one is sort of a return to the style of what we were doing here, but it's a much broader story. And
Okay.
but I like to work in actual historical references, real historical references into everything. And even the one we just finished, there are a lot of historical things in it. In A Prayer for the Damned, there is a reference to a society around the time of the American Civil War that really did exist.
Okay.
And the references in the plot to it, it's all true.
Okay.
And so I built the fiction around these real life events and people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I like doing that.
Well, yeah, you seem to have the flair for it.
Thank you.
So it's good that you're exploring that.
Yeah.
No, I'm intrigued to see what you guys are going to do next. To be honest, I think you've got a bit of a formula going here, and I hope it continues for you, because there's very few people that do this type of genre well, unless you've got a studio partner on board, and then obviously the sky's the limit on budget and imagination, and anything that can happen on screen will happen. From an action direction point of view, where were the challenges there for you in terms of trying to create this sort of dynamic on screen with, well, clearly a reasonable budget, but I mean, we're not talking studio level budget, are we? So where were the challenges there for you on the directing side?
Well, I think one of the early things you have to consider when you're choosing a location for something like this is you have to have the right amount of color and texture in your location. You have to have the right feel.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt mentioned that we had filmed out at Paramount Ranch prior to this, and we did. And it's a nice looking little western town, or it was before the fire.
Sure.
And it's a great looking town, except it looks like a brand new town, and the interiors look like brand new interiors of brand new structures.
Yeah.
Albeit structures that were put up in the 1800s. But this location that we have for this one, it looks like it's seen a lot of life.
Okay.
And it looks a little run down, and it looks a little dangerous, and it looks a little like, is that floorboard going to fall through when you step on it? Kind of a little. It's a little creaky,
which we needed for this story.
Which we needed, and that's, I think, in doing these things, I think one of the mistakes that often is made is the attention is not paid to those kinds of details. Well, let's just get a Western town and put everybody in Western-looking costumes. But we really made an effort to make sure that the wardrobe was authentic, and I think we mostly got it.
Yeah.
The what were the pants that men would have worn in those days? What were the skirts that women wore?
Sure.
Things like that. And
so you got your research down to a T.
We've got a good wardrobe department too that we have access to,
That's
and
great.
that provides us with a lot of what we need. But those kinds of little details, and then of course other challenges are the horses, because whenever you're dealing with any kind of animals, they could do anything.
Of course.
And one did with me on it. So I was taken for a
And
long,
animals don't like
uncontrollable
lines, do they?
ride across the
we
desert.
had a beautiful setup, and my DP was shooting me riding in this great wide shot, and Kurt was behind the truck where we had the camera
on top of my horse.
Right.
And what was that? What was the horse you were on?
Bristol, who is a thoroughbred. He
Yeah.
raced when he was 2 and 3, 4 years old. He's now probably around 15.
Yeah.
With quite the spirited animal.
Right.
And,
So we're rolling, and I'm coming into town, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, and he's gone, and he's bolting
Right. Right.
into the
Sure.
opposite direction.
of the
Sure.
camera in the desert. With,
And I approached the DP, and I said, "Turn the camera around, get this." Now, I didn't realize it was a complete runaway.
Yeah.
The owner of the
Wrangler,
the Wrangler too, they were off just observing all this, and they looked on and they said, "Wow, that's magnificent. Kurt looks fabulous on that thoroughbred." Well, it was a complete accident, and he was probably fearful of.
I was holding on for my dear life. This horse was just bored, and I was behind the camera, and it just I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden it just reared up on its own and took off like a bullet and did not rein in.
Right.
And so I was going, I am going to die. But I had this cape on. The cape was out behind me, and I was just holding on for dear life and trying to pull this horse in, but just holding, and the owner said, you look fabulous. That's going to be a great shot. You look great in the saddle. And
I told the owner, but that wasn't our shot, and we this was a complete mistake.
And the wrangler just said, oh, he does that every once in a while.
Yeah.
He just got a little bored. He likes to run. I'm like, oh. And I wasn't that experienced of a rider. I hadn't been on a horse until we started doing that Western for probably 15, 20 years. And since then, we both worked a lot. Joe was an experienced rider, and I worked a lot with a couple of different wranglers for the second Western. So I'm a much better rider now, and we have a lot more riding in the second one with no incident.
Okay.
So it was great.
But you also have to be mindful because you're using essentially real weapons, which are loaded with blank charges, and a lot of films they add in post the weapon discharging.
Right.
When you see a weapon go off in this, it's a real period correct, post Civil War weapon.
Sure.
And the smoke coming out is real black powder.
Okay.
And you have to prepare for that and have an armorer on set, which we did.
Absolutely.
And you have to be very careful, and you have to angle the gun so you're not pointing directly at the actor. So, just little things to remember like that. So there's a lot to keep in mind.
It is a lot to keep in mind. Keeping one big thing in mind, obviously, we've got the awards evening coming up.
Yes.
And fingers crossed for you guys. And you've got some nominations.
Yeah, we have 6. We're thrilled.
Yeah.
We're honored.
Yes, we are.
We're thrilled
Fantastic.
about that. Yeah.
We're just happy to be here, and I love London. And
my first visit to London, he's been here many times.
Yeah. Oh, you're a connoisseur.
Oh, yes.
Ah, there you go. There we are. He can lead you around the best.
Well, I'm an Anglophile. I love all
Yeah.
the British television and films.
Yeah.
I have since I was a little kid, and so I'm finally here.
Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
so I'm loving it.
Well, the W is pretty good, and so is Waxy's. But you got to get there.
Got to get there.
We're going to keep you here as much as possible. Obviously,
I know.
with the lead up and obviously the awards night as well.
We're having a ball here.
But that's great.
It's a great festival. We're really having a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, I know you're busy, so we're gonna wrap it up there. But Joe,
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you
for having us.
And good luck with the award ceremony and the film.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for everything.
Go
you've done for
movies.
us here. Yeah.
Thank you.